you, HP, for providing us the platform. And as a coincidence, today we have a woman as a speaker, as Maria Cristina. Thank you for being today here. And I would like to leave the floor to David to present and introduce Maria, since she is an old connection of his.
Thank you, Erila. Thank you, all the women part of the Jimmy think tank and part of our lives. It's amazing what we have accomplished, and I'm very thrilled to present Maria Cristina today. I've known personally Maria Cristina over a decade already. She's a woman of power, definitely. Her CV is amazing. She was part of Philip Morris. She was part of a managing partner of a consulting firm. Then she created an innovation club. And now she's talking about peer-to-peer engagement in companies across all Latin America and the world. So let us talk with Maria Cristina, get her knowledge, and please, a warm welcome to Maria Cristina. And Maria Cristina, happy Women's Day to you too. Thank you so much for being with us today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm going to start sharing my screen. Let me see if I can do this. Okay. Well, my English is not that great, but I'm going to try to do this. I think this is the first presentation I've done in English. Is my screen being seen right now?
We can see everything loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. And the other worry that I have is that I have too many slides. So maybe I'm going to go a little bit fast at the beginning. Okay. I've already set my timer for 30 minutes. So let's run. Okay. I'm going to talk to you first or in this meeting about collaborative innovation. What I really feel is going to be the standard way to innovate in the coming years. Closed innovation is finished. We are starting an era of open innovation that is not going to stop ever again. And it's going to be the standard way of innovating from now on. Okay. A new phenomenon is emerging in business. It's called collaborative innovation, in which companies from very different, sometimes very, very polar sectors combine their knowledge and experience to generate new value through product, service, or processes. This is not an isolated practice. It's an emerging global practice that is destined to become the standard way of innovating from now on. And the reason is really simple. The world and the markets have become too complex to try to solve on our own. Most companies right now do not have the knowledge, the technology, the capacity, the techniques, the methodologies to solve complex problems on their own. So regardless of the economic sector, the complexity of creating new value for customers and consumers requires a combination of expertise that goes beyond one business sector. In this reason, the world is becoming we're becoming co-creative, collaborative, etc. If it's already difficult to talk about innovation to Latin American companies, it's much more difficult to talk about collaborative innovation. However, the context suggests that increasingly the most disruptive innovations will occur in the collision, the intersection of companies whose day-to-day activities are carried out in different sectors. And why collaborate? The main reason for co-innovation or collaboration is that the market demands are too complex right now to be solved without collaboration. To innovate collaboratively requires a system, tools, and the dedicated involvement of the CEOs of the companies. So we must train ourselves to be collaborative, and this is not natural in organizations. Organizations are trained to compete, not to collaborate. Collaboration is becoming the smartest way to compete, but the most interesting cases are where companies from different sectors create new products that are not strictly related to any one of the original sectors. So collaborative innovation is the best way to create new sectors, new businesses, new ways of solving consumer problems. The proposal is to create the conditions for the most capable teams of any company to find intersections with other companies, not accidentally, as has been working, but systematically. And that's what I'm working towards right now, to create the conditions for the best innovators or corporate innovators to work systematically collaborating. It sparks from the conviction that the way to generate economic energy will consist of mixing teams that combine their assets, their skills, and their knowledge to generate new ways of generating value. So what is collaborative innovation? It's when two companies or more companies that have pooled their capabilities, skills, brands, dreams, bring something different to the market with the intention of providing new value. That's collaboration. But one of the obvious reasons why companies should collaborate is because it's really simple. There is always more outside than inside. Like, we are experts in our subjects, but there's much more knowledge, technologies, and willingness to do things outside than inside. Whatever a company does and whatever it knows, the knowledge available in the world is much larger than its own. And a company cannot know everything any more than an individual cannot. So being a new Da Vinci is unfeasible. And I think all of us have felt it right now when there's dozens or hundreds of different technologies that us that work in the innovation sector are feeling the strain of having to understand lots of new technologies, and we just are not capable of doing that. We need to specialize, okay? And we need to collaborate with others that understand these new technologies. The success of human beings has been based on having to collaborate, even with people we don't know. It's something natural in our species. Even if we think that selfishness dominates us, we have survived because we collaborate. And the same thing happens with companies. We do not have the knowledge, the tools, and the methods to do so. We do not yet know how to systematically create conditions that will generate trust between organizations, that will help us detect and connect invisible assets and create new value. Today's economic system seems to be built on competition. Companies compete for resources, for talent, for technology, for customers. We know how to manage an economy of competition, and business professionals are trained to compete. But the reality is that collaborating makes sense. And to ensure that, we need to collaborate in order for us to keep surviving individually. So what's the difference between coordination, cooperation, and collaboration? Coordination aims to efficiently execute a task, for example, getting things done. Cooperation aims to generate efficiency by combining the capabilities of different groups, for example, outsourcing. But collaboration is based in the willingness to find the multiplication of capabilities through the detection of common spaces, okay? For example, research and development between two pharmaceutical companies. Cooperation and not competition has been responsible for evolution. It's not competition, as Darwin said, it's collaboration, okay? So what's the building block of collaboration? It's trust. We have already said that the complexity of the world requires collaboration and the combination of knowledge, but collaboration requires a foundation of trust. So in order to collaborate, we have to want to do it, be motivated to do it, and be willing to do it. And this willingness derives from the establishment of a foundation of trust. This is really, really important. Moreover, the greater the willingness to collaborate, the more likely that the collaboration will be fruitful. This is really important because it sparks not from technology, not from knowledge, but from human beings being willing to collaborate with each other, being vulnerable, being trustworthy, not blocking the capacities that we have to interact with other companies. quality collaboration cannot be forced. In this sense, building the conditions for effective collaboration requires for us to build trust. And investing in building trust, both within individuals and between organizations, makes perfect sense for collaboration. To create a good social temperature that is necessary to apply methods and systems that override the natural tendency of groups. And what's the natural tendency of group? Tending to think that its agenda is more important. My agenda is more important than yours. My objectives are more important than yours. And most lawyers, most corporate lawyers or legal departments are trained to think this way. How can we protect what we do? How can we protect what we know? How can we win in this situation? And we are not trained to think of terms win-win. Dissolving the tendency to be individualistic, to try to take advantage of the assets of others, requires finding something to make sense of, rather to add rather than to divide. Teams must be trained to communicate their objectives with a willingness to combine from the outset. This is really important, not to compete, but to combine. And they must be trained to negotiate with criteria of shared efficiency without this being perceived as a surrender. This is really, really important. We are not trained this way. Companies are not trained this way. We must learn to generate in teams a kind of second innocence, far away from being naive, to overcome corporate cynicism. What is corporate cynicism? It's thinking that everyone is coming to take advantage of me. Everyone is coming to see what they can get from me, with the conviction that there is very useful value out there. Having intelligent trust is not easy, but it's really essential to achieve it. In this sense, the selection of partners in a collaborative project, rather than be based only on their capabilities, must be based on their willingness to collaborate and their ethics of confidentiality. Collaboration needs a process that allows people to get to know each other, to define a shared vision, and to develop legal agreements that do not impede the collaboration. This is really important. And the latest studies have revealed that collaboration, there is a strong relationship between having a process for collaboration and the ultimate success of the collaboration. But without a dose of generosity, collaboration is not possible. You have to be generous. You have to be a little bit naive. You have to reveal your cards in order for you to be trustworthy. Collaboration is by no means trivial. We know that any interaction between objects creates complexity. The word complexity is the main barrier for collaboration. In fact, in complexity science, we've defined it as the study of the phenomena that emerge from a set of interacting objects. All the time there are objects interacting, there is going to be complexity. And most real complexity problems arise from the struggle between agents for scarce resources. And what type of scarce resources are embedded in collaboration? Knowledge, experience, access to market, those things can generate complexity. Thus, for a collaboration to lead to practical results, there must be a process that controls complexity. Are you following the line here? We need trust. We need a willingness to collaborate. Most organizations are not built to collaborate, but to protect what they have. But we need to, and the interaction between companies generates complexity. If we generate the trust, build systems, control complexity, we can make the most of the interaction between agents. This is the science of collaboration. And this is where the role of the innovation leader comes in. And right now, I'm gonna introduce you to what I've been working on the last few years, and most exactly this ultimate year. The innovation leader, as defined by Fahrenheit 212, it's a position born of a real organizational need, and it is intended as the best way for a company to institutionalize innovation. But as it stands today, the Chief Innovation Officer, CINO, is the best way for a good executive to be fired within 24 months. Why? Because it lacks a proper definition. Most organizations don't really know what to be expected of an innovation leader. It's a really new position. If you searched for innovation leader in LinkedIn or innovation manager, innovation vice president, innovation, whatever, about 10 years ago, you would find just a spoonful of people, just a handful. But now you can find more than 25,000 people with that role in Latin America. That doing a really quick search. So what I'm working on right now is trying to establish a community that matures the innovation role in organizations through collaboration and peer-to-peer methodologies. 43% of large organizations already have a formally accountable innovation executive. This is from the Wall Street Journal 2015 post. And this role lacks a proper definition. And the poor definition of the role risks wasting time, resources, and ultimately the career path of a high potential executive. 43% of executives say they have an innovation strategy, but 58%, don't have an innovation strategy, but 43% do have an innovation executive. So that's a real contradiction. I have an innovation executive. I don't really have an innovation strategy. They just don't know what to do with the role. And a chief innovation officer succeeds or fails. This is really important, not because of the person itself, but because of the structure and strategic intention that surrounds it. And I've been working in innovation for about 12 years now, a little bit more than 12 years, about 14 years. And what I've mostly seen is that innovation flourishes when you allow it to function properly. Most companies put too many brakes on it, and the brake on autonomy, decision-making, management of presupuestos, I don't know how you say that in English, budgets, time, people, and money budget really place a toll on the chief innovation officer's head. And here's what where the role of a community comes into place. An audience is where you consume passively from a central person where other people are disconnected from each other. It's a one-way communication function, and there is no influence between people. But in a community, you participate actively, you bond with each other. There's a communication flowing between all the layers of the community, and the ownership is distributed. So audiences are very different from communities. What are the main pillars of a community? There are 4 things: engineered serendipity, interaction design. You have to design the way people interact, and you have to design different spaces in which people interact. You have to build relationships in which intimacy could be scaled. And what's the definition of engineered serendipity? Enhancing the chances of successful connections by increasing the rate of collisions between people, like collision theory applied to people. Okay, I'm bringing here a screenshot of On Deck. I participated in the On Deck Community Builders program last year, and it was absolutely awesome. The program got cut in the middle because On Deck decided to refocus themselves on startups, but the 6 months I was in the program was really interesting. And what are the 3 main pillars of a community experience? First, You have to allow the members to create value for each other. Second, you have to be the matchmaker to engage your community members. And then you have to place barriers to community entry, because communities are exclusive places where you can only hang out with people that that meet certain criteria. Communities have to be exclusive. The future of business is community, but most communities still struggle to make a business case of their efforts. So there's a core belief that I believe deeply in this, is that technology leads us towards a more inclusive, accessible, and diverse communities. Technology will be the main accelerator of communities from now on. And businesses that are not thinking of community are going to lose their competitive edge in some time in the future, 10 years. It's a biological imperative to know that we belong. And we are like going out of an epidemic of loneliness. And the UK, for example, in 2018 appointed a minister of loneliness. And in January 2020, a study pointed out that 61% of Americans feel lonely on a regular schedule. That's more than half of people. We are feeling lonely. We need to feel that we belong. We need to feel that we are part of a community that surrounds us. Belonging really matters, and we need to reinvent communities. And the way we interact has changed. We now interact through technological ways, because our local communities face-to-face are limited, but the reasons why we belong are staying the same. And there's a huge opportunity for communities to create impact, to scale, to connect the dots, and to grow. The ideal community professional is a highly empathetic systems thinker, a person who thinks in systems but can really understand people behind the scenes. And scaling intimacy comes to building systems that scale empathy and trust. Are you seeing now how the whole picture just comes together? What do we need to do to collaborate with other companies? From identity development to interaction design, we really need to scale empathy and trust. And the job to be done for communities is to create scalable infrastructures for authentic connections through interaction design. Communities are intrinsically connected in highly communicative networks where resources are optimized. Information, knowledge, food, because they are shared efficiently. And the three characteristics are identity, connectedness, and growth. Okay, here starts what I've been doing, and I'd really love to collaborate with IXL on this. About a year ago, or a little bit more than a year ago, I did a search on LinkedIn. It was a really quick search, and we searched for Innovation Colombia, approximately 105,000 results, and Innovation with a T, about 71,000 results. Obviously, innovation with a T mostly comes from multinational companies. This is really superficial, really superficial. I know that there's a lot of innovation roles that don't have the word innovation on them. I don't really care. This is just for sizing the market. And we came to the conclusion, searching country by country, that there's about 30,000 people in Latin America with the role of innovation in their titles. There could be much more. There's a lot of people that don't have the word innovation in their titles. So there's 28,000 people in charge of innovation in medium and large size organizations that really need to evolve their role. And we did a survey in 2021 of 600 innovation executives. We got 133 answers. This was done on LinkedIn. That's not a bad rate of response. There's a lot of huge Colombian companies that answered the survey done through LinkedIn. And what we found out a lot of things, but I'm bringing you the main things here. First, that 80% or more of the organizations have more than 100 employees, and 49% have more than 1,000 employees. Okay, there's a lot of people. Then 88% of the companies have an innovation area. I know that you don't really need an innovation area to innovate, but most companies, as they scale, they build a team dedicated to innovation results, how to detect white spaces, how to understand where could our ideal partners for open innovation be, how to develop structures for open innovation, how to define what the inputs and outputs of projects within my organization, how to measure the results of projects, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's lots of responsibilities on the innovation role. 67% of the companies have managed innovation less than 5 years ago. How long has innovation been managed in your company? Less than 5 years. So this tells you that the innovation function in large companies is really, really new, And there's a lot of information to be shared and best practices to be shared. How many people work directly in the innovation department of your company? 66% of companies have between 1 and 10 people working directly on innovation. And who's in charge of setting innovation objectives? Presidency. And who does innovation report to? Presidency. More than 35% of the innovation areas of the surveyed companies depend directly on top management, okay? It's a function directly depending on the CEO. And there's 3 main structures or 3 main models of managing innovation. First, you have centralized innovation, where innovation strategy and resources are centralized in one area. Everything is done by one area. This is the most unusual innovation structure. Then you have decentralized, where each business unit has autonomy over its innovation strategy and resources. That's also not very typical. And that happens, for example, in technology companies, the decentralized. But the hybrid innovation structure is the most common. Each business unit manages its project, but a central area coordinates and centralizes resources. And our result is that most companies are hybrid right now. What are the pillars of a collaborative innovation community? First, enabling members to generate value among themselves, and then us being the intermediaries or the matchmakers in order to achieve spaces of intentional connection between the members, okay? And the focus I'm working on right now for collaborative innovation is the evolution of the innovation role within companies in Latin America through peer-to-peer methodologies. What's the role of an innovation leader? Establishing the rules of innovation, the innovation game in the company, being a facilitator in the generation of new culture based on innovation, creating innovation management models. That's a long-term process, giving it time to mature. But there's one critical thing, is that most companies right now are reinventing the wheel because they don't share with each other too much. They do not share. So if we see here the way companies are maturing in innovation management, if you watch this this slide where you have the level of innovation maturity and the key dimensions, you can see that as a company matures, we must be able to save time, effort, and money learning from others. That's the thing that I'm working on right now. And I'd like to share with you what I've been learning. First, unbelievable amounts of knowledge remains unshared. About 1% of people are creators in the social networks, and about 10% are commenters. I'm a commenter, I'm not a creator. and about 90% are just consumers. But within that 99%, there's a lot of wisdom that remains unshared. For example, I'm gonna confesar, yo no sé cómo se dice confesar. I'm gonna confess that my main problem is that I'm not a sharer. I'm a little bit shy when I have to share things, and I would love to do it more, but I really don't know how to do it. So I really believe that there's a lot of innovation knowledge that still remains unshared. So what do? We created a platform. I'm going to go really fast here in order to connect at least 1,000 companies, relevant companies in Latin America, using the power of peer-to-peer, with transversal themes to all different sectors. And this is the platform where we connect different individuals. We collect data from individuals, from innovation teams and companies, in order for companies to share, connect with each other, and collaborate. So we have an innovation diagnostic, et cetera, and that's what we've been working on. So there goes my 30 minutes. The objective of the collaborative innovation platform that we're building is...
Let me slow you down. I think people are curious about this collaborative platform. You have to take 5 minutes to describe it. I think people will enjoy what you have, and people might want to join it. So why don't you take time to describe this collaborative platform?
Thanks a lot. Okay, it's called Relasi. It started with an interest from IADB, from the bank, that they called us and told us, the model you have is really interesting. You're a community. It's new. It's different. We need collaboration. So we're going to finance you. So they financed us, not a lot of money, but just enough for us to build this platform and get 9 countries into this. Argentina, Chile, Colombia, El Salvador, Mexico, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, and Dominican Republic. We are now talking additionally with Brazil, Uruguay, and Bolivia, and we expect to end 2023 with about 12 countries in Relasi. What is Relasi? Relasi is not a consultancy. Relasi is a platform, and we're migrating to become the first collaborative innovation platform in Latin America, open to any country that wants to connect with any company that wants to connect with other innovation executives. This is a mock-up because we're rebranding the whole platform. So it's not the real platform is already built, but we're branding it right now, and it's going to be ready in about 2 weeks. First, the platform asks you to fill out your profile. You cannot enter the platform without filling out your profile. You have to answer what are the challenges or necessities in which you would like to share or discuss with other corporate executives, and what type of projects would you like to collaborate with other corporate executives. Then you have to select the profile picture, select your banner picture. You can place pictures of your work in innovation. And this is the home where you can edit your company profile. Just one person per company can do that. You can edit your personal profile. You can see the companies per country. You can see the innovation teams per company. You can do the innovation auto-diagnostic that measures 6 dimensions in 4 levels of maturity, and you can inscribirse. You can join all the regional activities. We're doing a pilot right now in Colombia, where Colombia is the first country that migrates to Relasi. We have a full calendar of activities throughout the year, and they're done by different countries. One activity is done by Colombia, one of them is done by Chile, one of them is done by Argentina, and successively. And here you can see the innovation teams per company. You can filter your search by seniority, by knowledge, by role, by a lot of criteria. You can search, for example, for innovation executives with more than 10 years experience in construction companies that have more than 1,000 employees in Latin America. And you can do that. And what else? In the first pantallazo of the profile, you can see the main experience and the main needs of knowledge. And here you can search for all the companies that are members in each of the Relasi countries. Then you have a profile of the company, the members of the innovation team to the right, the description of the company to the left. And this is really interesting. You can book a meeting with anyone you want from any country you want. Right now we have about 400 executives on the platform, but we are planning to have around 4,000 by the end of the year, okay? And here each executive ranks. This is really difficult for me in English. It's really easy for me to do it in Spanish, but okay. And each company ranks their knowledge between the top 5 knowledge, between 31 categories of innovation knowledge, and the top 5 things I need to know. Here you can search for, well, this is the filtering section, and the innovation diagnostic measures strategy and governance, resources and processes, internal collaboration, open innovation, digital transformation, and sustainability. And we measure 4 levels of maturity in each one of these dimensions. And this is the first innovation diagnostic that can be comparative in Latin America. We do not have that yet. So you can compare yourself to other companies, but it's going to be anonymous. You're not going to know which company you're comparing to, just the categories. You can compare by level, whatever. Like, for example, I need to compare myself with other services companies in 3 different companies in Latin America, in companies that have more than 5,000 employees. So that's the innovation diagnostic. So that's Relasi, that's what I've been working on. I really believe that we need more collaboration. I don't want to do anything else but connect innovation teams in Latin America right now.
Maria, thank you very much. Maria Cristina, if you want to stop presenting, then we can just have a conversation, okay?
Okay.
And there were a couple of questions that were being asked already. So just quickly, is there an English platform on this thing, or is it only in Spanish?
It's only in Spanish right now.
All right. So people are asking about English, so think about that. So let me step back. First of all, Maria Cristina, without a doubt, collaboration and innovation are almost the same. I mean, you can't innovate without collaborating. You got to work in teams. You got to work beyond your resources, and you don't have all the resources to do everything, and you don't have all the knowledge to do everything. So collaboration is a fundamental pillar to make innovation happen. The trouble really is, at the end of the day, we have all these silos and organizational barriers that people cannot cross over very easily because of the traditions, the traditional rules of how you do your business and all that. And what we have seen is the way we break these barriers typically are always at the top, where people have the right to create partnerships, where they can bring the lawyers in, sign the NDA. If you're too low down, you have to get the NDAs approved by your manager, and then manager, and then manager. So it doesn't happen. And then if somebody does go outside the company to do some conversations, they get slapped saying, who gave you permission to talk about our secrets and all this kind of things. So this is the inherent structure of most companies. Do you have examples of any company which has somehow figured out to be fluid at the lower levels for communication outside of the company?
I know a lot of collaboration examples. I don't really, I think, for example, a good collaboration right now is Moverang. The joint venture between Celsia, Sura, and Bancolombia, where they joined forces to create a subscription, electric vehicle subscription model, And I think it's a very successful collaboration, but it's successful mostly because they're members of the same economic group. It's much more difficult to collaborate with people from other, for example, I'm seeing it right now. The effort we have had bringing in 9 different countries from 9 different companies, it has been really, really exhausting, really exhausting. We're still in the process of that.
So Maria Cristina, I think there's something called pushing water uphill, where there is organizational rules and behaviors that just makes it painful and difficult to push across and say, they'll agree with you. Everybody agrees collaboration is good. Everybody agrees that we should have a free flow of information. But then you say, do it. And they say, well, we got to go through all these protocols, whatever they are, and changing the processes and the structure, and indirectly the culture is where we get stuck in. So my question is, what I like what you have built is a virtual organization, which basically means that I can opt in without necessarily permission from my company through like LinkedIn or Facebook. Both of them are, everybody has the right to check into LinkedIn, and everybody has the right to become part of a group in LinkedIn. And I can still work for Motorola or Google or any other company, but I can be part of this community too. So your virtual idea, I think, is very powerful. It's a virtual network which sits across everybody to join into. But now the question is, at some point, I'll give an example. I was having a beer 2 nights ago at a pub, and I met this guy who was in biotech, and asked him, what do you do? And he says, he's a senior scientist. And then I said, are you working with aging? And he said, I can't tell you. And I said, well, if you can't tell me, then how can we have a good conversation? And how can we collaborate? I got some things maybe I can help you with. And he was immediately like, I can't tell you because I'm working on a top secret project for my company, probably something like BioV or Genentech or somebody else. So he couldn't share. And that kills innovation, because I could have been the right partner for him while I'm sitting next to him in an informal environment, right? So the question now is, how do we train people to be able to speak without revealing secrets that are dangerous, but you can still collaborate? So there's another level of training that people need. I should be able to talk to you, Maria, about anything, to a lot of things, except for the few core things, and not just say, I can't talk to you at all, right? And so how do we create a culture of people who are confident enough to speak with each other, and knowing what to say, when to say, and what not to say also, but to say, but to speak and exchange, drink coffee and exchange ideas?
Wow, that's a really powerful question. I think it all comes down to execution. People have been afraid of others copying their ideas, but try to do them. That's the difficult part. And most companies are, I think they feel that revealing a secret is going to make the competition automatically want to do that. But if it doesn't fit their strategic plan, if they don't have, a company needs to abandon the shiny object syndrome. And one of the experiences I had that was really revealing is that, for example, we do a trip once a year that's called Tech Mission, where we travel overseas to get to know technology and innovation ecosystems. And we've already been to Silicon Valley, London, Japan, France, Germany, Sweden, Denmark, and this year we're going to South Korea, Seoul. And when I went to Sweden, the main insight I had was Sweden is a country that's built on collaboration, on being aware 20 years ago that they weren't collaborative enough, and working together to break the silos that you talked about at the beginning. For example, Sweden has RISE, Research Institutes of Sweden, that about 10 years ago were a dozen different institutes working on their own things and not collaborating. One of the main things I realized when I went to Sweden is that we are really so far behind in collaboration. That's why I try to be really you could say naive, but I share a lot. And I think that
Maria Cristina, I want to say what you're saying. Everything you said about Colombia is actually the same as in here in the United States, the same in Sweden also. We see examples of great collaboration, but majority of the people are siloed. Majority of the people are not allowed to collaborate. Majority, it does not matter. This is a universal thing because we create artificial constructs called organizations, org structures, and then reporting structures, governance structures, which doesn't allow flow of information and collaboration. So I don't think it's a Swedish thing or a European thing or a Colombian thing. I think it's the way we created our companies in the first place is where it all starts from, right? So I have a question on this though, is if we believe collaboration is important, McKinsey, BCG, or where I used to work, Arthur D. Little and Monitor, we would always go to the top, to the CEOs and say, look, if you want to innovate and you want to do something new, then your company doesn't know how to do it or doesn't have the competency or the capability. If it's new, you will have to learn. So why not learn from people outside who already know a lot more? So you need to collaborate, you need to partner, and you need to be, and that will increase your speed for what you have to do. And we always went from the top down. As much as people would say our culture would let our people from the bottom up do these things, we always went from the top to do this. So is part of your strategy for your platform to onboard also CEOs? Because if you onboard the CEOs, then the culture will trickle down.
not yet. We want to be a very niche platform just for innovation executives. We have a mandate for member companies. We have already about 140 member companies in Latin America from different countries. They have to onboard at least 3 executives and at most 10. Most companies onboard about 3 or 4, and the platform right now is not too complete in terms of the members. But we want to be really, really narrow. We just want to, our mission is to connect innovation knowledge through the executives to do it. And so it's really centered on about 35 categories of innovation knowledge. We map them out, and most CEOs see this as too specific. So it's not a platform for CEOs. It's not a platform for executives outside of innovation practice. It's not an open innovation platform, and I don't think it would be, it will become, but we do want to be the best partner for innovation executives. We feel that this could be like you can do whatever you want in innovation, collaborate with whoever you want, hire all the consultancies you need, but this is your team, this is your community, this is the place where you belong. That's what we want to do.
One of the challenges with things like Facebook and LinkedIn, which made them successful, was they had a very clear value proposition. In Facebook, for example, we liked the fact that we have a community of family members, pictures you could like and you be liked. On LinkedIn, it's your resume that everybody in the world sees. This is a subset of group of people that you're talking about. What is the reason by which they'll go there regularly to interact with? Because people have a lot of platforms, and then the platform needs to deliver some value that you go back and look again and again and again. So what are you thinking about doing in there? Will there be knowledge that you'll be sharing regularly? Will they be announcing projects? Will they be announcing prizes? How do you make your community vibrant? Because my biggest fear with any community that we've built over the last many years, it takes a huge effort to build it. And then to maintain it requires a lot of energy. And somebody has to pay money for that. Somebody has to pay money to operate that platform and keep activity going. Our Jimmy Think Tank is a great example of that. We have a team that works regularly to bring speakers in, to get people to argue, debate. They summarize, they put into videos. That's a budget for that. So, and then when we stop doing it, people will say, thanks a lot, we'll move on to another platform. But as long as we don't deliver value, they will move very quickly. So have you really figured out what your value proposition is going to be and your business model?
We're starting. We're building an algorithm that will connect who needs to know something with someone who's doing it already. We want to connect practical knowledge, lessons learned, hacks, tips. How do I do it? How do I solve the complexity regarding one function? So we want to do a really good deep dive in building the algorithm that connects who needs to know something or who's working on something with people in Latin America, other peers that are doing the same things. Some corporate innovators will find it useful, others will not. But as we've seen along the years, most members of our community do find it useful, okay? We have for example, we have a really low churn rate. A couple of years ago, 100% of the members renewed their membership, and now we're going to do a different membership structure. So we're innovating. We can fail. This could be a flop, a complete flop. This could not work out, but we're going to do a pilot right now where we're going to ask a lot of companies to join the platform and tell us what's working, tell us what's not working, tell us what would really make sense for you. And we're willing to iterate on the product in order for us to learn about it. So we just want to be, for example, if you're an innovation executive right now and you need to know how another company builds, for example, ecosystems, or builds its metric structure, or mobilizes innovation internally, you can do a post on LinkedIn and people will answer you, but you don't really know who's answering there, okay? And you have to filter, and that's a lot of time there. Yeah. You can go to the platform and say, okay, I want to know how large companies in services industries in these 4 countries build their innovation metrics in the construction sector. Okay, you can't do that on LinkedIn. You cannot do that on LinkedIn. And you would have to bypass, you would have to be a friend of the person in order to connect with them. It's too much of a hassle. So we want to make it easy for peer-to-peer learning in innovation communities, corporate innovation.
Maria Cristina, first of all, I think what you're trying to do is very, very valuable. And I think people who are in the innovation space will value it for sure. We from Jimmy Think Tank and the Jimmy organization, there's a group of people from around the world who would certainly will reach out to you to probably say, hey, how do we collaborate together and add more stuff together? I think the more it becomes part of an ecosystem, the more it will become likely to succeed and survive in everything that we are trying to do. Our challenge as innovation people is our people go on to other careers, they move on to other roles. And therefore, we got 2 or 3 years to really train people up, and then they move on, and they move on. And therefore, it's a continuous churn on one side of it. And on the other side of it, of course, is at the moment when I need something, I can't find it. And the number of things our innovation people need is lots of things. And so how do you make sure that all that stuff is available at the moment they need it? So I think it's a big challenge. I'm going to ask, Cristina just got his hand up. He's going to ask one question now. But I do want everybody who's listening right now from wherever you're in the world, think about how you could collaborate with Maria Cristina, maybe contribute with members onto her platform or signing up for it or whatever, or even thinking about how to bring the franchise into the Middle East or bringing the franchise into other parts of the world, whatever. Maria Cristina is collaborating. We need to co-create. And if we do that together, I think we can do a lot more. And you can rely on Jimmy, Global Innovation Management Institute, to help you on that front. Cristina, you have a question.
Hey, good evening, Cristina and all. Cristina from Jakarta, Indonesia. I learned a lot from Maria, and I think we are thinking of doing the same thing in Indonesia on how to build and promote collaborative innovation. In the earlier part of your presentation, there's one keyword that I recall, that is the building trust, right? Building trust among people who want to collaborate. So it actually reminded me to what an American CEO friend 30 years ago, when I actually made a collaboration with American consultant, saying this to me. He said, Cristina, there are 3 things when you collaborate with people. He said, in America, you will have 3 questions. First is it legal? If it passes the test, then the next question is it ethical? Okay. And it passes the test, then the last part is, can I trust you? Okay. So if this three tests passes the deal, then they will collaborate. Okay. And then he said, if you are dealing with an English executive from UK, then the sequence will be a bit different. They will say first, is it ethical? Okay, and then secondly, is it legal? And the third remains the same. Can I trust you? If it passes the test, then they will collaborate. So when somebody talk in Asia, then the question will be, can I trust you? First question. And then if they trust each other, then the 2 remaining questions doesn't really matter. Let's work together, kind of thing. So I think that's very culturally dependent on how things are done. And I think Asia will have more actually to learn on how to collaborate, because we are actually culturally tend to collaborate without considering the future consequences, and sometimes it come to problems and they said, okay, let's face the problem together. If they make successful, let's share the success together too. So they are collaboration. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. You're so right on that.
Maria, let me do this. We need to bring this thing to an end. So you will have the last minute. You can take Cristina's input and also wrap up with any request, any ask, or any last words of advice.
No, it's just that I'm really, thank you very much. This is the first presentation I do in English, I think, in all my life. So I lacked a lot of vocabulary. I got stuck a lot, so I'm sorry about that. But well, I really feel that collaboration is gonna be the future much more than we think so, and we still need to lower a lot of barriers, and most of them are cultural, between individuals, between countries, even between special groups within the company. So that's it, and I'm completely willing to collaborate with you in anything that you deem viable.
Right. Thank you, Maria Cristina. Today we learned about peer-to-peer collaboration, the need for us to collaborate with each other as individuals, as teams, but even much more as companies and across countries. What Maria Cristina has is a platform that allows people from all over the world to be able to get on it and then make requests and ask for help and everything else. But also there are tools in there which gives you your own assessment of your company or where it is compared to other companies and other things inside there. So it's got other sticky factors that can be very helpful to you. So consider looking it up, consider joining it. That information for Maria Cristina is going to be on the chat, so anybody can pull it off. And you know, as we said before at the Global Innovation Management Institute, we believe that if we collaborate together, we can and we will make a big difference. So with that, this brings an end to our think tank meeting today. Thank you, Maria Cristina. Thank you for everybody else for listening and watching.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Great.